I was in a client meeting at Goldman Sachs when my phone started vibrating with alerts I'd never seen before. Security notifications. Property access warnings. Bank fraud alerts. All time-stamped within the last 12 minutes. The meeting ended at 3:47 p.m. I checked my phone in the elevator. 15 people had accessed my penthouse in the past hour. My building security app showed my brother Michael had used the emergency maintenance override code, the one I'd stupidly given my father last year when I was traveling and needed someone to water my plants. I was 30 years old. To my family, I was the daughter who played with investments at a hedge fund. Michael was 34, charming, perpetually between major opportunities, and currently living in Dad's basement after his third real estate venture collapsed. What they didn't know, I wasn't an analyst. I was a junior partner at Meridian Capital with a 7-figure compensation package and a personal portfolio worth $8.3 million. The penthouse they thought I was barely affording? I bought it cash 18 months ago. I called my building's head of security while my Uber fought crosstown traffic. Ms. Reeves, we tried to reach you. Marcus sounded stressed. Your brother presented documentation claiming the property was in foreclosure. He had people here for a showing. What documentation? Bank seizure notice. Said you'd defaulted on the mortgage and the family was handling the sale to avoid public auction. He had your father with him as a witness. I'm sorry, Ms. Reeves, but the papers looked legitimate. Marcus, I don't have a mortgage. I own that property free and clear. My voice stayed level despite the rage building in my chest. Who's in my home right now? Your brother, your father, and what looks like potential buyers. Maybe 12 people total. They've been photographing everything, taking measurements. Lock down the building. Nobody leaves until I get there. Call the police. Those documents are forged. On it. I hung up and opened my banking app. The fraud alerts were from my brokerage account. Someone had tried to access my investment portal using my email and a password I'd never used. Failed login attempts from an IP address in New Jersey. Dad's house. They tried to check my finances to see if I was actually broke. My hedge fund payout was scheduled to hit today. The one I'd been waiting 6 months for. My share of Meridian's fiscal year performance. The notification would have gone to my email at exactly 3:30 p.m. I logged into my brokerage account. The transfer had posted at 3:33 p.m. $5.4 million. My penthouse was worth $2.1 million. I had another $3.2 million in liquid investments and $3.1 million in my 401k and private equity stakes. Total net worth. Approximately $13.8 million. And my family thought I was so broke they could sell my home out from under me. I walked into my building at 4:23 p.m. to find 2 police officers in the lobby, Marcus looking relieved, and the sound of my brother's voice echoing from the elevator bank. This is a misunderstanding. I have documentation. Officer Patricia Mendez looked up as I approached. Ms. Reeves. That's me. What's happening? Your brother claims he has authorization to sell this property due to foreclosure. We'd like to see your ownership documents. I pulled out my phone, brought up the deed filed with the city. Purchased June 2024. No mortgage. Clear title. Paid $2.1 million cash. I showed her the bank records, the title insurance, the closing documents I kept in cloud storage. Officer Mendez's expression hardened. Your brother presented a foreclosure notice from Chase Bank. Are you saying that's fraudulent? I've never had an account with Chase Bank. I've never had a mortgage on this property. Whatever he showed you is completely fake. Michael appeared from the elevator with Dad and a well-dressed couple who looked confused and angry. When Michael saw me, his confident smile faltered for just a second. Rachel. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. He moved toward me like we were on the same team. I know this is hard, but we're helping you avoid public humiliation. The Hendersons here are willing to pay cash. Take the property as is. Get out of my home. His smile thinned. Rachel, don't be dramatic. Dad and I are trying to help. You're trying to commit fraud. I turned to Officer Mendez. I want them arrested. Breaking and entering, attempted fraud, forgery of bank documents, and whatever else applies when you try to sell someone's property without authorization. Dad stepped forward. Rachel, please. Michael was trying to help. You've been struggling. We know the fund has been having problems. What problems? The layoffs. The losses. We saw the news about Meridian Capital. Dad pulled out his phone showing me a Bloomberg article about hedge fund volatility. You haven't been answering our calls. We thought you were in trouble. So you decided to break into my home and sell it? We were preventing foreclosure. Michael started. There is no foreclosure. I own this property outright. I looked at the couple he'd called the Hendersons. Did he take money from you? The man nodded furious. $50,000 deposit. Kish. He said the sale had to close today or the bank would auction it tomorrow. Officer Mendez pulled out handcuffs. Mr. Reeves, I need you to come with me. This is insane, Dad, tell them. Michael backed toward the elevator. Don't move. The second officer, Rodriguez, blocked his path. You presented fraudulent documents, collected money for property you don't own, and gained unauthorized access to a private residence. That's multiple felonies. I pulled out my tablet, opened the security footage from my penthouse. I have cameras in every room. You've been in my home for 90 minutes. Would you like to explain why you were going through my bedroom closet, Michael? His face went white. Or why Dad was photographing my mail? I showed the footage of Dad standing at my desk, using his phone to capture images of my bank statements, my investment documents, my personal correspondence. Officer Mendez looked at the footage, then at my father. Sir, you're under arrest as well. Conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, and unlawful surveillance. Dad's confident expression crumbled. You're going to have your own father arrested? You broke into my home. You tried to steal my property. You went through my private documents. My voice didn't shake. What exactly did you think would happen? We were trying to help. No. You were trying to take what's mine because you assumed I couldn't afford to keep it. I pulled up my phone. My hedge fund payout hit this afternoon. $5.4 million. Want to see the deposit confirmation? Michael's face went from white to gray. That's impossible. It's not. I'm a junior partner at Meridian Capital. My annual compensation is $1.8 million base plus performance bonuses. This year I managed a portfolio that returned 34% when the market average was 11%. That $5.4 million is my cut. I showed them the brokerage statement, the deposit, the total balance that now read $8.6 million in liquid assets alone. I'm not struggling, Michael. I'm not broke. I'm not defaulting on anything because I don't owe anyone anything. I bought this penthouse with cash because I could afford to. And you tried to steal it because you assumed I was as much of a failure as you are. Dad was staring at the phone screen like it was in a foreign language. You never said anything about being a partner. You never asked. You assumed that because I don't brag about my success, I must not have any. I looked at Officer Mendez. I want to press full charges. Against both of them. Marcus approached with a printed document. Ms. Reeves, the Hendersons want to file a complaint as well. Fraud, misrepresentation, theft of their deposit. Michael turned to the couple. I'll return your money. You'll return it through the courts, Mrs. Henderson snapped. You told us this was a legitimate bank sale. You had fake documents. You took $50,000 cash and gave us a receipt with a fake company name. Officer Rodriguez was reading the receipt. Empire Property Solutions, LLC. Is this your company, Mr. Reeves? It's a real company. I registered it. To commit fraud. I pulled up the New Jersey Business Registry on my tablet. Registered 3 weeks ago. No business activity, no employees, no legitimate operations. You created a shell company to make the scam look official. The second officer pulled out her handcuffs. Mr. Reeves, Ms. Reeves, you're both under arrest. I watched them cuff my brother and father in my building lobby. Michael was shouting about misunderstandings and family loyalty. Dad was silent, staring at me like he'd never seen me before. You're really doing this? Dad asked as they led him toward the police car. Your own family? My family broke into my home and tried to steal it. Yes, I'm really doing this. The Hendersons stayed to give statements. They'd found the listing on a fake real estate website Michael had created. Photos of my penthouse, a sob story about a foreclosure, an asking price of $980,000 for a property worth $2.1 million. We thought it was a distress sale, Mr. Henderson said. Your brother said you'd lost your job and couldn't afford the payments. He seems so sincere. Michael's always sincere. That's his talent. I showed them the real property records. I'm sorry he scammed you. The police will help you recover your deposit. Can we see the actual unit? Mrs. Henderson asked. We were interested in this building genuinely. If you ever do decide to sell. I'm not selling. But there's a unit on the 14th floor that's legitimately on the market. I'll give you the real listing agent's contact. They thanked me and left with the contact information and a story they'd probably tell for years. Marcus walked me to the elevator. I'm sorry, Ms. Reeves. The documents looked real. Your brother was very convincing. He's had a lot of practice. And Marcus? Change all the override codes. If anyone claims to have authorization to access my unit, call me first. I don't care if they have a death certificate and say I'm dead. Call my cell phone. He smiled grimly. Understood. My penthouse was a disaster. The buyers had been through everything. Closets opened, drawers rifled, even my medicine cabinet searched. Michael and Dad had clearly been hunting for evidence that I was broke. Past due bills, eviction notices, anything to support their story. Instead they'd found my actual life. Designer clothes I'd bought myself. Art I'd collected. The home office where I analyzed market trends and managed my personal portfolio. I pulled up the security footage and watched the whole thing. Michael arriving with fake documents. Dad backing up his story. The rehearsed pitch to the Hendersons about helping his struggling sister avoid public embarrassment. At one point, Michael stood in my living room and said to Dad, "She's been living beyond her means for years. This is what happens when you pretend to be something you're not." I saved that clip. Sent it to my lawyer. My phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Reeves? This is Detective Sarah Chin from the Fraud Division. We'd like to ask you some questions about today's incident. Of course. Can you come to the precinct tomorrow morning? We're building a case against your brother and father. The more documentation you can provide, the stronger our prosecution. I'll bring everything. Bank records, property documents, security footage, communication records showing they knew I owned the property. Communication records? I pulled up my text history with Michael. 3 months ago, my brother texted congratulating me on the fancy new place. Last month, Dad asked if he could host his book club here. They knew this was my property. The foreclosure story was entirely fabricated. Detective Chin was quiet for a moment. Ms. Reeves, I have to ask, is there any possibility this was a misunderstanding? Family members sometimes make assumptions. They created a fake company. They forged bank documents. They collected a $50,000 deposit. They went through my personal documents looking for evidence I was broke. My voice was steel. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was premeditated fraud. Understood. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. The next 3 weeks were a masterclass in watching confidence collapse under scrutiny. Michael's lawyer tried to argue it was a family dispute that got out of hand. The prosecutor showed the jury the fake foreclosure documents, the shell company registration, the deposit receipt, and the text messages where Michael discussed getting Rachel's place sold before she figures out what's happening. Dad's lawyer claimed he was just supporting his son and didn't know the documents were fake. The security footage showed him photographing my confidential financial statements and texting Michael, "She's got way more money than we thought." Adjust the story. The Hendersons sued in civil court for their $50,000 plus damages. Michael's fake company had no assets. They went after his personal accounts and found $847. My lawyer filed for a restraining order. Michael and Dad were prohibited from coming within 500 feet of me or my property. Violation meant immediate arrest. The criminal trial took 8 days. The evidence was overwhelming. Michael was convicted on 6 counts: fraud, forgery, theft by deception, identity theft, trespassing, and conspiracy. Dad was convicted on 4 counts: conspiracy, identity theft, trespassing, and attempted theft. Michael got 4 years in prison. Dad got 2 years plus probation. At sentencing, the judge looked at them and said, "You tried to steal from your own daughter. You created an elaborate fraud to take her property. And when caught, you showed no remorse, only entitlement. This court has no sympathy for family members who exploit familial relationships for criminal gain." Michael's girlfriend sent me a message. "You destroyed your own family over money. I hope you're happy." I blocked her and went back to work. 6 months later. Meridian Capital promoted me to senior partner. My compensation package jumped to $2.4 million base with a higher profit share percentage. I bought a second property, a weekend house in the Hamptons. Paid cash. Didn't tell anyone in my family it existed. The Hendersons recovered their $50,000 through a court-ordered liquidation of what little Michael owned. They bought a different penthouse in my building, 3 floors down, and we occasionally had coffee in the lobby. Dad's wife, my stepmother, filed for divorce. She'd had no idea about the fraud scheme and was humiliated. The settlement left Dad with almost nothing. Michael's fake company was dissolved. His real estate license was permanently revoked. He'd never work in property sales again. I changed all my emergency contacts, removed family members from my building's authorized list, established a trust that would handle my affairs if anything happened to me, with professional trustees who couldn't be manipulated by relatives claiming good intentions. Mom, who divorced Dad when I was 12, called to say she'd heard about the trial. "I'm not surprised," she said. "Your father always thought he was entitled to other people's success. I'm just sorry Michael learned from him. Did you know they thought I was broke? Honey, they think anyone who doesn't flash their wealth is broke. You've been successful quietly. That's incomprehensible to them." She paused. "I'm proud of you. For pressing charges. For not letting them get away with it. Some people would say I should have forgiven them. Some people are idiots. You protected yourself. That's what matters." I thought about that conversation while standing in my penthouse. The one they'd tried to steal. The home I'd earned. The space I'd created for myself. I'd been raised to believe that family came first. That you forgave anything, overlooked everything, sacrificed yourself for the people who shared your blood. But somewhere between my father photographing my bank statements and my brother pocketing a fraudulent deposit, I'd learned a different truth. Family who treats you like an asset to be liquidated isn't family. They're just people who happen to share your DNA. The real family I built was the one I chose. Colleagues who respected my work. Friends who celebrated my success. Professional relationships based on mutual value rather than assumed obligation. And a penthouse with new security codes that only I knew. Some people inherit their self-worth from family approval. I bought mine one honest achievement at a time, and defended it against the people who thought I didn't deserve to keep it.